Hersam Acorn newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersam, Acorn, and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports. And they've gone to the bullpen again. John Kovach sitting in for Rob Adams. Alex Hager by my side. Rob will be with you this afternoon. He is currently on the way to DeLuca Field in Stratford, where he will be audio only, so it'll only be on HANradio.com, listenable. All the action of the CIAC Class M softball semifinal doubleheader. 4 o'clock, number 2 Oxford, 21-1, taking on number 6 Tolland. They're 19-4. And then in what I would have to think is one of the main events of the state softball playoffs, 7 o'clock, top-ranked St. Joe's, perfect 22-0, against number 5 Seymour, defending champ, 20-3. We're going to start right away talking about that with Bill Bloxham, sports editor for Hersam Acorn. Bill joining us by the phone. Bill, am I out of my mind calling this the main event, the St. Joe's Seymour game?
No, I'm fired up. I'm sitting here in Milford right now, looking out the window, seeing the clouds go over and little sun popping through, and I can't wait to get over to DeLuca myself. It's going to be a good one. I mean, St. Joe's is just steamrolling everybody, but Seymour is another one of those programs that'll come up and bite you like Amity does in baseball, Amity or Woodbridge. You know, they just, they have the players, and you better be on your toes. And, it's a good one. It's what we thought we might see in the FCIAC final if Darien could have got there with Osharow, but they got knocked out by a very, very good Stanford team.
Is it going to be the usual softball game come down to pitching?
Always, and it's just interesting. Nicole Williams has just been lights out for Jeff Babineau's cadets. She's just 3-year starter, only a junior, which doesn't make opposing coaches too happy. But just they lost a lot. They went to the semis last year, lost in the semifinals to East Haven after winning the FCIAC title, and this year they steamrolled through, including the FCIAC. They're 25-0, and they just play softball up and down the lineup. Hitters where they need to be, speed where they need to be, defense where they need to be. So I would be surprised if St. Joe's does not advance.
What would Seymour have to do to pull off the upset?
Any opportunities that they get runners on base, they have to score. It's that simple because St. Joe's just kind of grinds at you. They just puts the pressure on the defense, which they did against Stanford, and Stanford answered the bell. They caught the ball. Did a real good job on defense, and that's what Seymour's going to have to do here. A 5 seed. Have
you seen them at all this year?
Just once, and it's typical Wildcats. They don't beat themselves, so you're going to have to go out there and get after it.
But look, hi Bill, it's Alex Hager. But like we know from watching that FCIAC final game, we know that St. Joe's isn't completely infallible. I mean, Stanford team was certainly hot, but the fact that was only a 2-1 game means that St. Joe's can lose.
Exactly. No, I mean, we were all talking off of the on our own about that game and how we all, at least myself, saying, "Oh, geez, if Darien's there, it's been a closer game." St. Joe's will probably win it, 5-1, 6-1. They've beaten them 8-1 during the regular season. So, that's what we were expecting. So, yeah, softball is, you're exactly right there. It comes down to, who's going to pitch and make the plays on that one day. So yes, no, I'm not expecting a blowout, but I would still be surprised if St. Joseph lost this game.
And there's some pretty high seeds in the other game as well, where Oxford's taking on Tallinn. That semifinal's also today. Do you think that either of those teams could give St. Joe's a run for the money should they meet in the finals?
Have not seen Tallinn, have seen Oxford, and with Ashley Boulette, they are the team that could be the take them out. She is just a dominant. Once again, she's a 4-year starter. They knocked off Seymour's to win the NVL, Norfolk Valley League title. Oxford did, and so that's the one I think everyone's anticipating, hoping for the final. But Tallinn, once again, that's a softball program that has been in the quarters and the semis almost annually. So if you get to the semis, like the coaches always say, you're going to run into a quality team at that point. Seedings don't really matter at that. If you're in the quarters. If you get out of the quarters and into the semis, whatever your seed was, whatever your win-loss record was, whatever league you are coming from, you've earned that position.
Now, the difference, some of these teams, year after year after year, your Seymour, your St. Joe's, and St. Joe's a different boat because they're drawing players from all over the area. Your Oxfords. Is it the feeder program that makes the difference?
I know it isn't Seymour. They just from following them in the summer, when we switched gears from high school to amateur youth leagues, I should say. 9, 10s, 11, 12s. Whenever you're going through the districts, it's always a Seymour team going up against, and it's usually an Orange team. And Amity Woodbridge is Orange and Bethany and Woodbridge combined. So you see that. So Seymour, despite being a small valley town, has a great feeder program. St. Joseph, as you mentioned, has players from different backgrounds, different cities that they can come in from.
And Bill, while we're on that topic, are there any other programs in Fairfield County or the surrounding area that you can see being, seeing high increase in level of success in the coming years?
Both, it's funny because Ward and Ludlow are, I'm just talking about Fairfield right now, are just, they're so consistently good, and they just have trouble getting over that next hop. And I don't think they hurt each other with the draw. I mean, it's always been that two teams in one town. Geez, if we could ever just throw them all together, what would happen and this and that. So, I mean, they're just good. They have good coaching. They have great feeder systems. Once again, as I mentioned, in their district, it's Fairfield teams that that get there in the 10s and the 11s and even up to the the 12s. So I would say Fairfield, Milford schools. Once again, they get split with the foreign and law, and springtime in Milford is a great time because all the sports compete very well at all levels, all the way up. So they're competitive, but it's not like they're growing; they're already there. I don't really see an outside force, coming yet. The programs are the programs, and the teams that seem to wallow in the middle, they seem to stay there.
Hey, while we're talking about Milford, I want to take a minute and just salute Jeff Bavino, who is walking away from softball after years. Done a great job with that foreign program.
Yeah, he really did. It's amazing. They got beat by Massac in the finals 2 years ago. He went to 3 straight finals. He had the team that should have is a hard word to use for high school athletes, but they had Massac beat in the 7th inning, and they had 3 opportunities to get the out number 3, and players that had all-state type players who had made plays all throughout their careers, so it wasn't a case of not knowing how to handle the stage, just did not make plays. And Jackie Chef's Panthers came from behind to beat them in the middle year. But yeah, no, he's got a great program here. They have a good feeder system. They have not announced who will be taking over his place, but Jeff. They've had good coaches there at both Jonathan Law and Warren High School, and both programs are in good shape.
I'm friends with Jeff on Facebook. Know him through coaching football. His daughter Fallon was senior this year. Wrote a tribute to him that I read over the weekend after they played their last game. This is why you get involved in sports. This is why you coach. Because, yes, it made all the more special that it's her dad that she's writing it about, but just a beautiful tribute for all the work he did.
Yeah, no, he took a team that had went, as far as they could at each one of their youth levels. They were winners coming in, and, he still fine-tuned them. He had to move some players around. He had to find a couple pitchers after the Harknesses both graduated, Taylor and then Jess. You have your daughter on the team, but they just it's funny because he does have that football mentality, and he has a way of coaching that way, but it seemed like the softball team had a way of softening him. And, they had winning makes it easier, I would imagine, but, covering Fallon Davino was, one of those pleasures that as sports writers should get to do, and Foreign High was a very class program with Jeff at the helm.
Getting back to the playoffs and getting back to St. Joe's, but we'll switch our focus to baseball here. And on the boys' side, in baseball, Class M, St. Joe's screwing up the chalk there because it's top-seeded East Catholic versus fourth-seeded Sheehan in one of the semifinals, the nightcap tomorrow at Dodd Stadium up in Norwich, a venue that we just love here. We've been up there. But at 3:30 tomorrow up at Dodd Stadium, you've got second-seeded Montville and number 19 St. Joe's. How'd they get that far as the 19 seed in that tournament?
It's amazing. It's kind of – this is 7 straight quarterfinals they've went to under Coach Jim Jobs.
That's amazing.
7 straight quarters, 4 straight semis. They won the title in 2013. I can't remember the seed. My bad. Before this season, they had 80 wins in the last 4 years. Graduated almost all those players. And while I spoke of Nicole Williams being such a great pitcher for St. Joe's, and to have a 3-year starter at that, what a godsend that is going into the playoffs. St. Joseph goes into the finals. Goes into the season without a pitcher with an inning helping them out. It's just amazing. They had no varsity pitcher back.
None. They had no varsity pitching experience, and now they're a win away from playing in the state final.
In the state championship game. They just did a great job. Chris Bougie is the assistant coach there, and his dad, Cliff Bougie, who's coached it from Southern to Foreign High School to you name it, is stepped in as their pitching coach a few years ago, and he just did a great job with Mike D'Agostino, who pitched 2-0 shutout in the quarterfinal win, and then you got Mike Rotundo and Connor Hurley. They've all won. They have a real veteran in Matt Leviziana from the football team, and I spoke to him after they won their quarterfinal, and he says, winning kind of perpetrates it. It's just kind of it's a perpetual motion thing that happens there. He had the big 2-run single in the middle of it, but a very young team in terms of experience. They're not freshmen, sophomores, but they did graduate a lot from the year before, and but even last year they were the 12th seed. And then, like I said, they made it to the semis, and they lost to our top-seeded Rocky Hill 1-0. So, St. Joseph's knows how to play baseball. It was interesting because I talked to the boys lacrosse coach, Joe Izzo, and he just said they're just having a lot of fun this spring. He says it's just, with them, they're going to be playing in their semifinal tomorrow night in West Haven. And then you got the baseball and the softball team, and he just said, the kids are having a real fun spring, and it's a fun campus to be around right now.
That has to be a tremendous atmosphere. Similar at Darien, Alex, where you've got a few teams still kicking?
It definitely is. Boys and girls lacrosse still around. Baseball just bowed out recently, and softball's still alive and well. Girls tennis just won over the weekend. Boys volleyball still alive and well. Especially in that southern portion of the FCAC, there's a lot of really competitive teams, and it creates a fun student atmosphere. And I can say, after having watched a year of FCAC baseball, it's not a huge surprise to me that a team like St. Joe's, even as a lower seed, can make it as deep as they did. Because after playing, Darien, New Canaan, Norwalk all year, teams in the FCAC were well conditioned to go pretty far in the CIAC tournaments.
I agree, and all the coaches I've spoken to and doing previews type of thing from out of the area, they do mention the FCX strength as being part of, how these programs are, the seeds don't really matter when you get here. You should almost re-bracket it. That one-loss records aren't really the telling point. It should be strength of schedule and this and that. And they all agreed, as I said earlier about the softball, once you get there, you are who you are. And, I think it hurts more in the early brackets where you'll see some teams coasting and other teams. But, though I think the weather this year with the 3 games in 3 days turned to be a great equalizer, so no one could, hide their number one and get them there. I think most semis you're going to be seeing number two. I think you're going to be seeing most of the aces in the semis and in the second guy in pitching in the finals.
And I talked to some players.
I did want to ask.
You go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I did want to ask, to be a student in a springtime like that, most kids are trying to get out. They're thinking of college. They're thinking of proms. They're thinking of this. And I'm a little bit out of that loop for a few years now. And I know in the fall everybody gets fired up for the football team, and it's kind of like the season's going. The year's just starting. Let's get going. We're all fired up. Does it kind of fade away, or does the spirit kind of go with the success of the teams?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say there's definitely smaller crowds for high school baseball games than football and hockey, but I know especially in a town that's obsessed with lacrosse as Darien is. I mean, those are games that draw big crowds. They're games that draw a lot of attention. They're games that the school really gets fired up for, especially when you get into the later rounds and you're facing, rival teams from the FCIAC in the semis or the finals. I know we played New Canaan in a late round in the county championship. We were slated, I believe, to play Wilton or Greenwich again in the CIAC tournament.
Wilton.
Wilton, exactly. And, people really do get excited for those games. The baseball team picked up a lot of support this year as they made it pretty far, and there were some big games against rival teams, too, that actually drew some fans. So I think that it's been really exciting for the school overall. And, it varies sport to sport, year to year, but, the towns have a track record of being perennially good at sports and perennially drawing crowds, and especially when you have a school like Darien, and I know it's the case elsewhere, where the fall sports and the winter sports were really good, people are really looking for an outlet to continue that excitement. We followed the football team really late into the playoffs this year, the hockey team obviously, and people had a lot of excitement for Blue Wave sports, and they wanted to continue with that heading into the spring.
That's got to be a great atmosphere.
And one other thing I wanted to talk about really quick, too, is I talked to a lot of players from teams who were forced out in the early rounds, and especially on Darien, I heard a lot of players saying, well, it's really not fair. You can't play baseball playoffs in a single elimination, single game format. I mean, logistically, it would probably be a little bit of a mess, but a lot of players are saying it's really not, you can't really crown a fair champion if you're not playing series of baseball games.
It was interesting. I was just reading in the Connecticut Post where Sandy Silzicki does a 50-year ago, 40-year ago, 30-year ago thing every Sunday, and I like to see, my old friends' names listed there. But I was seeing where, and I can't remember. I apologize, but I think it was Norwalk beat Stanford or something in the second game of a best of 3 to win whatever division title they were playing for, and it caught my interest. And I looked at the year and I said, "Well, that's not that long ago that a league anywhere, or maybe, and I can be wrong, it was probably a state, because what time of season we're talking about here. They did do a best of 3. I have nothing against that in the final, but that probably wouldn't help the teams get knocked out early when somebody's ace comes in from Cheney Tech and beats your guy.
Right. I mean, it's definitely would be kind of
it would be hard to do.
Especially when teams have only 1 or 2 go-to pitchers, it's kind of tough to play through. I mean, it's already a 6-round thing, and if you're going to have 3 games a series, it's a real challenge to field a pitching staff. But at the same time, if you only have 1 ace, that's just kind of baseball. It's a fickle sport, and it depends who you have on the mound. It depends what kind of day you have. It depends what the weather is. It depends what the ball feels like, and so many things can change. I don't know if there's an actual solution at this point, though.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, and then we always ask coaches, why don't you just save your first guy? You'll beat that team. You look at the record, you'll say, oh, you're going to beat that team. But you don't know, because in baseball you're only as good as your pitcher. And if your pitcher is off that day, you hope like Bunnell of Stratford, they got such a big lead in their first round game that they got to sit Justin Lasko, who will be pitching tomorrow night up in Palmer Field, and take him out after 2 innings. Because they had a big lead and they could go to their bullpen, and I mean a big lead, like 8 to 10 runs.
And we're going to be talking about that Bunnell baseball team and their run, as well as Amity baseball with Mike Suppy when we come back. Bill Bloxham of Hersam Acorn, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing your coverage from today's games.
Yeah, looking forward to DeLuca tonight, and it's always good talking to you guys.
Thanks, Bill. We'll be back with more Nutmeg Sports after this.
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332 and online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate roadshows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to HANradio.com.
John Kovach getting another inning in here on Nutmeg Sports as we go to the pen. Rob Adams will be with you later on this afternoon. He is down at the DeLuca Field in Stratford setting up for the doubleheader down there. Oxford and Tolland, St. Joe's, and Seymour. That'll be audio only on HANradio.com as we reach the Final Four in baseball, softball, lacrosse here in Connecticut. Mike Suppy from Hersam Acorn joining us by phone. And, Mike, we just had Bill Bloxham on. Thank him for coming on. We were talking about Amity baseball and Bunnell baseball a little bit. And let's start with Amity, Mike, because you've got the defending champ comes in as the 14 seed. And now in a bracket that's really been busted, they're in the Final Four. Semis are at Muzzy Field up in Bristol tomorrow. You've got number 4 Staples. They're the best remaining seed. Number 4 Staples will take on number 8 Norwalk. That's at 3:30. And then at 7, number 7 Southington, and the defending champ, number 14 Amity. Mike, how'd Amity get there as the 14 seed?
Well, it's actually going to be a rematch of the past 2 Class AA championships between Amity and Southington, with Amity winning both of them. So they're the 2-time defending champ. They're the reigning SEC champions, where they came in as a 6th seed and won the SEC tournament. And this is the time of year where Falcon Polo's team, you're just really doing yourself a disservice if you pick against them doing anything amazing at this point, because they've proven that they're the premier program in the state in baseball right now. And what they did in the quarterfinals against an excellent Shelton High team, that showed everyone that they meant business. That 17-1 win on Friday that I was in attendance for, that was just, a 3-1 game that Amity broke open with a 10-run inning, and just, in front of college coaches and scouts. They were just pinging the ball all over the field and showing that they have the incredible depth that you need to go this far in the tournament. And it's interesting, you don't see a guy, their coaching staff talk about how it's tough to play 3 games in 3 days, because they have what a lot of teams in the state don't have, and that's depth, where they can bring a guy off of their JV team and sophomore left-hander Teddy Haig to pitch that quarterfinal game against Shelton, a team that scored 14 runs in the first round against a pretty good West Haven team. And Teddy Haig comes in there off the JV team because of injuries throughout the season, ups his record to 3-0 by dominating Shelton in that game. Easy to do when you have a 16-run lead for most of the game, but an impressive effort nonetheless.
It's 17-1 in the quarterfinal is just crazy. Are their bats that strong?
Oh, I mean, they got a Division I player leading off, and Chris Winkle, who will be headed to UConn. He's only a junior, but I mean, he led off the game with a towering opposite field home run to left field. He's a left-handed batter, and just showing the kind of raw power you don't see every day in high school. You know, his younger brother Pat Winkle, who's a freshman catcher, who, if you looked at him, you would say this guy's in college because he's a big kid. He hit a big home run. Another slugger on their team, Devin Belinsky, hit one out. And, I mean, they were pounding the ball all over the field, and Shelton was just, they didn't have any answers. They were a little short on pitching, where they didn't have a guy who was as tested maybe as Amity had, and it got out of hand fast, and it never got any better for them.
And depth can be one of the most valuable traits a team can have, especially when the games are back-to-back, and especially in games that are as crucial as they are. We just talked with Bill Bloxham about how some players kind of wish that there was a 3-game series every round or something of that nature, just because baseball is so temperamental and so many different factors play a role into each game. Depth can be so crucial in, who you're pitching, and if someone's having a bad day, you can bring in someone else. And the more players you have, or the more pieces you have in the puzzle, I think the easier it is to go far.
Yeah, and, in a perfect world, they would have a tournament similar to what they have in American Legion, what they used to have with, 16 teams elimination. But that's not the case, and, everybody in the state's playing on the same level when it comes to that. So you're really doing yourself a disservice, I think, if you're not, cultivating that depth throughout the season. I know a lot of teams don't have JV teams anymore. A lot of programs have had to, lose those due to various factors. But, I mean, if you're throwing, you're facing a team that is, one of the struggling teams in your conference, and you're, throwing your ace to pump up stats, you might want to think about maybe bringing in, a younger guy to get them some experience, because those are the guys that are going to help you win the state tournament when you're faced with a situation where you're playing 3 games in 3 days, which is unique, but it's not that unique. I mean, if, everything fell right, they would have had, a day or two off between the semifinals or the quarterfinals and the second round, but unfortunately with the weather, that's what happened. And, some teams are just better prepared to go through it than others were.
Yeah, I mean, the weather is going to be the MVP, however this baseball and softball tournament comes out, because I think it's had a bigger effect. Baseball more so than softball, and I'll throw that out to both of you guys, because your softball pitcher can come back on shorter rest, where baseball, you might get, and we've said it before, you get backed up in the schedule and you're losing your ace.
Yeah, I mean, it's, a good example of that is Shelton High. They threw their ace, Mike Cowell, in the first game against West Haven, a Fordham-bound right-hander, and he pitched that game. He got the win, and then they had to bring him back the next day to nail down the save against Newtown in a 1-0 win, where Newtown had go-ahead runs on base in the top of the 7th. They brought Cowell in to face, one batter, and he got the strikeout to end it, But then in the next game, that puts him out for the game against Amity, where, they might have been able to use him to get out of one of those hairy situations when Amity started to really blow the game wide open. But, it's a tough decision, as, with the coaching staff they have to make, when to use these kids out and how much is too much and how much they're relying on the kids to be able to pitch that much in such a short amount of time.
Go ahead. Well, I think something else that's definitely influential is not only is it depth, but it's there's a fair amount of politics as well in high school sports, and I think you have coaches who sometimes are going to want to leave a senior in over someone from JV, and it's the ability to make kind of chancy decisions. When do you put in a younger kid? How soon do you take out a starter who's been rock solid all year if he's given up a few hits? And I think that the more cavalier coaching staffs sometimes find better success in that they're more willing to take chances in risky situations.
Yeah, nothing, fortune favors the bold, as they say. So, I mean, it depends on, what it's really the coaches knowing their personnel is what it boils down to.
So, winner of Amity-Southington will take on the winner of Staples-Norwalk. Staples with a 9-0 victory over the Bears in the regular season, and Staples coming off an 8-5 victory over number 21 Greenwich, game Rob Adams and I did Friday, in which, again, pitching coming to be the key to it. Greenwich walks 6 straight, I believe it was, in that game. And that was where the game got out of hand for the Cardinals, and the Wreckers were able to advance. That should be another good game.
Yeah, and I mean, FCAC looking to make some noise in this year's state tournament, especially in Class L with Double L with all, the big schools. I mean, my research, they've won 3 state championships since 2008 in baseball, and they have, somebody's going to be there coming out of that top side of the bracket in Double L to be facing either Amity or Southington, teams that, have been playing in these state finals and have that pedigree. So either one of those teams is going to be facing, an uphill battle with an experienced team. I mean, Southington brings back a good chunk of their team that played in those last 2 finals, as does Amity. And, Norwalk or Staples, they're going to have their hands full with a lower-seeded team no matter who they face there.
Moving over to Class L, we talk about a dominant player making the difference, and Bunnell, the 9 seed, truly has one of those as they go up against the 13th seed East Lyme. That is the nightcap of a twin bill at Palmer Field in Middletown tomorrow. Opener at 3:30, number 7 Windsor, number 22 North Haven. How's Bunnell looked? You've seen them this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Coach Scott Sturma would say that they have 2 big guys there with not only Ronnie Rossamondo, but Justin Lasco, who won their quarterfinal game against Bristol Eastern with the big. I think he had something like 11 strikeouts in that game as they knocked off the top seed, Bristol Eastern. And, I mean, talk about a crazy bracket in Class L. You have a 9 facing a 13 and a 7 versus a 22. And, I mean, Bunnell, this is the first time they've been in the semifinals since 2007. They're looking for the first state championship in baseball in their program's history. And, I mean, it's taken them a while to get back here, but they had a tough loss in the SWC final against Massac High, where they were shut down by Massac-based Cam Kovach, who recently committed to Duke University. And I think that loss might set a fire under Bunnell. They came out guns blazing in the first round against Platte Tech with a 16-2 win. They knocked off an always tough Maloney team 4-3 before taking out the top seed Bristol Eastern. And now they got 13 seeded East Lyme. And, they got their guys ready. It's going to be, for the Vikings of East Lyme, it's going to be a tough one for them to try to knock Bunnell off with a chance to go to the finals in its sights.
Should I be as surprised as I am that, A, they're looking for their first state championship, and B, how long it's been since they've gotten this deep?
I mean, yeah, it is surprising because they're always one of the stronger sides in the SWC, but it's just, they've had some tough losses. I believe last year they lost in the quarterfinals, and, they always seem to run into the other team's top pitcher. And sometimes, the other guy just throws a little bit better than your guy, and you're left on the outside looking in. But, I mean, they were a team that was in when the brackets came out, the preseason rankings, they were a team that everybody had pegged to be here at the end. I mean, referring to last year when they lost to Notre Dame and West Haven, the eventual champs, they were shut out 3-0 in that game. But everybody knew that, as an observant high school baseball fan, that this team was loaded with guys, especially, 2 Division I pitchers that, not every team in the state it's not something that they can say for themselves. And, they had a pretty good regular season. They didn't, win any hardware. Massac was the top seed in the SWC tournament. And like I said, they won the SWC tournament. But, Bunnell's got a chance to put themselves in a very good position to get that hardware that matters the most, and that's the state championship. Because the other side of the bracket was, kind of a crazy the way it fell with Windsor facing North Haven. North Haven upsetting Massac, and then they faced a Middletown High team that was kind of had a strange coaching situation happen there. And then in the quarterfinals, North Haven faced the Daniel Hand team that entered the state tournament with a losing record at 8-12 that actually knocked off third seed Wilcox Tech and then Pomperog in the second round before falling to North Haven 4-1. And then, Windsor, a team that's always in the mix. Windsor knocked off the second seed Watertown, which is one of the tougher teams in the NBL this year. So who knows who's going to be coming out of that bottom side of the bracket.
Daniel Hand has to play a qualifier to get in. As you said, they get in with 8 wins, 8-12, just get in under the wire. And then it was 7-0 over Wilcox Tech, 6-4 over Pomperog before they run into North Haven, who's still alive. I mean, that's a bracket buster there. And Bunnell themselves, the 9 seed, knocking off top-seeded Bristol Eastern. What was the key to that game?
Oh, I think it was Lasco's ability to, Bunnell scored all their runs in one inning, if I'm looking at it right, and he was able to limit Bristol to just, single runs in those innings. He shut down the big inning. I mean, he's an excellent pitcher. I've seen him pitch, a handful of times. He's a hard thrower. He throws strikes. He's a strikeout pitcher. And it was just his, pardon the pun, his bulldog mentality on the mound that, willed them through to the next round. And they're a team that usually gets enough hits. They have good enough pitching. If they can string together a couple hits and get a lead, you're not going to come back on because those guys are going to shut the door on you.
So where are you going to be today and tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'll be up at Palmer for the Bunnell East Lyme game. I might go a little bit early to catch some of that Windsor North Haven game because North Haven is a team I saw twice this season, and one of the times they got no hit by Shelton High in the FCC tournament. So I'm interested to see if they made any adjustments, tweaked anything that fueled this run to the semifinals. I know they have a great coaching staff. And, that's what I want to check out, just, seeing prior to the Bunnell game there. And then Wednesday I'll be doing a little bit of the old lacrosse with St. Joe's.
Yeah, and it's just been a great year for St. Joe's, as we were talking about with Bill Bloxham a little bit earlier, to have 3 teams still alive.
Yeah, that's, they've proven to be one of the better, one of the best athletic-wise schools in the state, and they're having a great, they had a good winter, a good fall, and now they're having a good spring. It's something that you've grown to expect from them.
Truly, as Mike Suppy, sports editor for Hersam Acorn, thanks for joining us on Nutmeg Sports. John Kovach with Alex Hager. We're going to talk about another school that's having a banner season when we come back from this break. As Steve Buono of the Darien Times, Hersam Acorn sports editor, talks to us about the Darien Blue Wave. Mike, thanks for joining us. You're listening to Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com, streaming on the Hersam Acorn Network. The long winter is finally astern. Bait is invading the harbors, coves, and inlets. Stripers, fluke, and porgies are on the move. In the streams and lakes, trout, smallmouth, largemouth, and walleye have moved out of hibernation. At the dock shop, it's all systems go. And now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, and their newest location at 609 Riverside Avenue in Westport. Bait, tackle, apparel, and of course, all the marine and nautical accessories that they're known for are ready for you at the dock shop. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
The biggest day in Connecticut lacrosse is around the corner, and you won't want to miss it. HAN Network's production team will be bringing you all 3 Connecticut Lacrosse Championship games and live streaming video through the CIAC and NFHS Network on Saturday, June 13th. This is Rob Adams. I'll have the play-by-play live from Brian McMahon High School. The 2015 Connecticut Lacrosse Championships through the CIAC and NFHS Network and produced by the HAN Network. Don't miss it.
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersam.
You're listening to Hersam Acorn Radio.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on HANradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network. John Kovach, I'm pinch hitting for Rob Adams today. Rob down at DeLuca Field in Stratford, where he will be bringing you both ends of a softball doubleheader. Tolland and Oxford, then St. Joe's and Seymour. Playing in another twin bill at DeLuca Field tomorrow night will be the Darien Blue Wave. Steve Buono joining us by phone. Steve, this has been a great run for Darien softball. How do they keep it going that last step into the state final?
Well, their coach, Nick DeMeo, says it's kind of coaching basics with kids. And it's not just kids. You have to steer into focusing. I think he's most concerned is getting the kids focused 100% for this one, because it's just real stiff challenge again. And they had a letdown in the previous round, and they managed to hang on for a one-run win. But I think that's the main thing. They have the tools. They just need to sharpen them a bit, keep them sharp through tomorrow night. That's his main concern. He's not going to get overwhelmed, and they're not going to overwhelm Cheshire, that's for sure. But that's what it's all down to now, is keeping the kids focused, sort of basic high school coaching basics right now.
Now, both Darien and Cheshire the 2 seed, Darien the 3 seed, they both had first round byes. In the second round, Cheshire with a 6-0 victory over Danbury, followed by a 7-0 victory over NFA in the quarterfinals. So they have yet to give up a run in the tournament. Darien, 4-1 victory over FCIAC rival Norwalk, and then a 3-2 win, as Steve mentioned, in the quarters over Newtown. Can they put that letdown behind them?
That's what it's all down to, putting that letdown behind them, because they're going up against a real murderer's row here. And it starts with the pitcher, Mackenzie Eudatis. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Cheshire pitcher he's a killer on the mound. She's going to be really tough. But Darien matches up Erica Oshiro against her, and it's pretty favorable. And Erica actually has probably, it's thought to have by others, rather little edge in power. She's got the power for it. Can she keep it going for the full game in the face of these really brutal hitters for Cheshire? That's going to be her challenge. She can do it, but again, they're going to have to really screw down the focus to get by this, because this is a tremendous team, 23-1. Cheshire.
Erica Oshiro has been strong for the Blue Wave all season long. She's committed to play at the University of Virginia next year. But something we saw in the last game against Newtown, if you look at the scoreline from that one, it was 3-2. I was there to watch it, and we saw that she had a little bit of a stumble towards the end of that game, and fortunately they were able to hold on. And the offensive power that Darien is, the powerhouse that they are, is that they were able to sustain that lead, and they were able to come out with a victory in that one. But do you think that Cheshire can maybe, has Darien faced a team as tough as Cheshire? Is Cheshire a team that offensively can power through Oshiro and can power through the Darien defense? It's been incredibly strong all year, but they have not faced a team as strong as the out-of-conference Cheshire.
They can, Alex. Cheshire can crack Darien. That's what I mean. They're going to have to really screw down tight to avoid that happening, because they're going to be facing this like a tank that can roll over them if they don't keep that focus the whole from top to bottom. But they've got a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of firepower there. I got the numbers in front of me, and Kelly Pola has more hits than any Blue Wave that has come before her. 40 hits for Kelly for the regular season. This is these numbers, and she hit 597 for the 446, Lexi Lopiano, 553. Kristen Picard batting 381 for the regular season. Cassidy Schiff, 375. Sophie Barber, 396. And Avery Malley, 300. So they can fire it up on their own end, and Cheshire's ace is going to have just as much pressure in her face as Erica will have as well.
I mean, practically the whole Darien starting lineup is hitting above 300, so I'm really excited to see this one go down.
Isn't that something? Yes. So that's their ace in the hole as well. They have plenty of power as well. I know that Nick has been talking this season about the whole thing about focus, getting the girls to just really like superhuman. It's very difficult, I think, to stay focused, especially if you're in high school, and to see it through under all this pressure. That's a real feather in your cap if you can handle that. And they have handled it for the most part. Like you say, they are vulnerable. They are vulnerable to wobble a little bit. But that vulnerability is going to have to be shunned against Cheshire because they are brutal.
What do you think that's going to come down to?
It's going to come down to whether Erica Oshro has one of the best games she's ever had, and she's already up there, one of the top 3 pitchers in the state. Most people think. I think if Erica's got to have her so-called, coaches, as coaches call them, the A game, and I think she can outpitch the other girl by a margin of margin for victory. Put it that way, because when she's on, she is frightening.
Alex, our intern here from Wavecast, who's happy to be my co-host today, I'm sure. I'm happy to have him. He was talking earlier, Steve, about what a great atmosphere it is at St. Joe's, where they have multiple teams still alive, and at Darien, where they still have multiple teams alive. How has it been to cover as they move deeper and deeper into the playoffs and just keep surviving and advancing?
Well, you get caught up in it because you talk about all the coaches talk about the focus, getting the kids to focus down, and they are. It's probably easier to focus when you're having a ball, and they all seem to be having a great time. Of course, the ones that win. We're only talking about the ones that are winning and moving on, but it is the Darien softball team talks about hitting is contagious. It's almost their motto. And this enthusiasm and this vibe that comes up as these teams survive deep into states, that's contagious too. And it seems to run. Alex would know better than I, but from the outside looking in, it seems like it's something that just it feeds on itself and it feeds across teams. And it really, even without, I don't know if the kids talk to each other. Hey, what a great game you had as a softball player, and the lacrosse player says something back. I don't know how much intermingling there is, but it just seems like one great big, organic thing where one team's success seems to feed off another. They even have epic comebacks this year, particularly from one team to the next. Football onto lacrosse in the spring, and the hockey as well. Hockey has kind of held it down themselves, but you've had these epic comebacks across the board with these teams, and it just seems like it's all coming from the same place. And as you said, the atmosphere, it's feeding an atmosphere that is really, it's very upbeat and exciting to be on the outside looking in on this thing.
And I think a lot of our teams thrive on momentum, especially when you're talking about a team and its specific counterpart, whether that be baseball and softball or girls lacrosse and boys lacrosse, even in the tennis sphere, boys tennis and girls tennis. A lot of the teams, I think, will find parallel success, and that's certainly been the case for softball and baseball here. And especially when you have teams in the realm of baseball and softball this year that are both stacked with seniors. I think that both of the teams for Darien have huge senior classes, and that is really influential in sort of the morale aspect, in that both of the teams have had players that have been playing together for, sometimes double-digit quantities of years, and have known each other and have known their counterparts in their respective sports. And so I think that the leadership and experience is something that is really, really helpful. And I know that every team that's been winning this year, whether it be football or hockey or baseball or softball, has immense amounts of experience. And especially on teams like hockey or lacrosse that have a pretty stacked junior class as well, I think that some of that experience will carry over into next season.
Yeah, and the coaches talk about that all the time as well. It seems obvious on the face of it. It's how many seniors you have is going to largely determine how successful you may be, depending on their talent. And you take it for granted they're talented seniors, but you're talking about it's essentially grown-ups here. There can be a big difference from seniors to juniors and 10th graders, and it is a big step in maturity. So if you have someone who's got it together as a player, who's a senior, and you got a bunch of them on a team, that's right, Alex. You really have a leg up there. And as far as going across the teams, various sports go, Darien won the girls' tennis championship states on Friday.
Yes.
And it was palpable the enthusiasm that was coming across, and relating it back through the school as well. It was very much a case of that tennis team wanted to jump on board. Part of it was they very much seemed they wanted to jump on board the championship bandwagon that's been rolling right through 2014-15. That was part of wanting to get on that, and the satisfaction and joy that they exhibited after they won. That they were a part of it too. We're just as good as the lacrosse team. We can win championships as well, and they got it.
A great atmosphere there, Steve. Thanks for calling us. We'll talk to you probably tomorrow about some lacrosse if we can sneak you in.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm working on previews right now. So
beautiful.
I'm not a font of knowledge, but I can read my own previews back to you.
It works. You know your sports, you know your Darien. Steve Wona of the Darien Times, Hersam Acorn. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to release the all FCAC baseball team and check in with Rob Adams from DeLuca Field here on Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with PowerRise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's Lots of Characters, specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Now you can keep up with what's happening in Darien with the convenience of the Darien Times Online. Your choice. Print or digital subscription for just $45 a year. Or get the print and digital bundle for just $10 more, $55 a year. To subscribe to the Darien Times, go to hersamsecure.com/CIRC or call the circulation department at 203-894-3388. The Darien Times, now in print and online. Don't miss a single issue. Subscribe today.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
2:55 on this Monday edition of Nutmeg Sports. John Kovach, pinch hitting for Rob Adams. And I screwed up. I flipped my metaphors there. I was coming in from the pen for the first two breaks, and then I was pinch hitting.
I was going to say, if you're coming in from the pen, I'm probably like the bullpen catcher. We've had we've had three starting catchers go down, and they're finally bringing me into the game. I'm not even on the roster.
I wouldn't go that far. No, you've brought a lot here. So just released within the past half hour, the All-FCIAC baseball team. To the surprise of no one, Alex, the FCIAC Player of the Year is
Randy Poloni.
Randy Poloni of Trinity Catholic. Pitcher, shortstop, just a dominating player. Our friend Stephen Barston from Darien making the all-conference squad. Ben Kasparius, sophomore pitcher from Staples. JT Morin, who we saw just put forth one of the most workhorse-like performances over the course of a week that we've ever seen in the FCIAC Championship Week. FCIAC Tournament is the word I'm looking for. David Giusti of New Canaan makes it, as does his battery mate Zach Smith. Carlos Garrido, catcher from Trumbull, also makes as a catcher. Your 2 first basemen, Robbie Jones, who gave us a dramatic finish here on HANradio.com, and Reese Maniscalco of Fairfield Ward are your first baseman. Also in the infield, you've got Dave Balanek of Norwalk, Jake Frasca of Darien, Nick Nardone of Ward, Josh Nieves of Central, and in the outfield, Matt Laveneziana of St. Joe's, Nate Panzer of Staples, led off with the game we did Friday with a home run over the Blue Monster at Staples, AJ Fabry of Ridgefield, Mike Macaron of Darien, they round out the outfield, and then your utility, Anthony DeMeglio of Darien, George Belizna of Danbury, and I apologize if I got that wrong, and Michael Gonzalez of Norwalk. That's your first team. You can read the All Central, East, and West teams at fciac.net on your Hersam Acorn newspaper sites as well. You want to talk utility player, I would say DeMeglio is the description of a utility player.
He has been so useful for the Blue Wave this year. He started the season at catcher, and he's also been pitching as well. Despite starting basically every game at catcher for the Blue Wave, he's committed to a D1 school to pitch, which is kind of incredible. So he has been huge. He's also been one of the better hitters for the Blue Wave. He's got a couple home runs under his belt this year. But honestly, looking at this list, almost none of these names are coming to me as surprises. After having followed FCIAC baseball all season long, just huge names. I mean, reading from the top down, Polonia, Barston, Kasparius, Wilden, New Canaan, Giusti have all been so great.
Yep, every one of them. Going to step in here. Rob Adams joining us by phone. Rob is at DeLuca Field in Stratford. He's going to bring both ends of the doubleheader to listeners on HANradio.com. So that's audio only. Listen on the drive home. Nothing better than baseball or softball on the radio. Rob, how is it down there?
It's a good atmosphere, John. Tolland is here already. We're waiting on Oxford to show up, and of course Seymour and St. Joe's later on. So it's nice. For my first time inside this facility, I've always driven by it, and it's a beautiful place to come watch a game, and I'm excited to bring it to folks later on.
Right down, overlooks the Sound. It's on Main Street in Stratford, just north of Sikorsky Airport, and it is the home of arguably the most famous softball team in the world, the Brakettes.
That's exactly right. And again, just a really nice place to gather for the afternoon. And, I met with Stratford head coach, or Tolland head coach, Phil Pompa for a few minutes. And, I saw him kind of looking around, and he gave me the old "we're just happy to be here" routine, a team that's 19-4 on the year. And I watched him take a few pictures, and I said, Coach, if you want me to take one with you in it. He said, well, come on down to the field. So I wound up team photographer for Tolland for a few minutes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so you'll be with us shortly. You'll be with us shortly before 4 with the call on HANradio.com.
We will be ready. Doubleheader action today, as we said, with these 2 games going on, and then 2 more tomorrow up at Muzzy Field. Excited for that, and then of course the doubleheader in lacrosse on Wednesday, baseball again Friday, and lacrosse Saturday.
Awesome, Rob. Have a good one tonight. Good luck down at DeLuca Field.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, John. Talk to you later.
That's going to do it for this Monday edition of Nutmeg Sports as we kick off what's going to be a busy week with a lot of games. Doubleheaders today, tomorrow, Wednesday, tripleheader Saturday on the NFHS Network and CIAC. For Alex Hager, Rob Adams, Bill Bloxham, Mike Suppy, Steve Bono, this is John Kovach. Thanks for tuning in for Nutmeg Sports.
Hersam, Acorn, and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
Want to get in touch with HAN Radio? You can find us on Twitter at Hersam Radio, on Facebook at Hersam Acorn Radio, or email us at radio@hersamacorn.com.